My research paper investigates persuasive narratives, particularly ones used in 1970s British public information films, also known as public service announcements, infomercials form. My research paper is titled Compact Horror and Creepy Cutouts. Okay, just to give you some idea as to my framework, it's a bit like this. From my project proposal, what are your aims and objectives? Okay, a quick summary. To create a persuasive narrative which explicates how technology is affecting our concentration, making it difficult to engage in text for long periods of time. Furthermore, as the American media theorist Douglas Rushkoff puts it, we are all now presentists, locked in a memorizing loop of tweets, updates, emails, and instant messages. My practice asks this question: how can you interpret your project proposal's aims and objectives in animation and sound? My research paper is the stimulus behind the what question, and through research I've tried to piece together an argument which concludes by questioning whether today's public information films are effective in visual persuasion, especially to a younger audience on areas such as health and safety issues, and in particular, the dangers of the internet. In the early stages of this project, I was just looking at persuasive still images such as posters, images on leaflets or cigarette packets, that kind of thing. Okay, I'll begin with presenting a few images to you I found. They're a mixture of campaigning for or against something, or bringing issues into our awareness, but all have that element of provocation in their design. Can you guess what the image is trying to convey, and do you think they are successful? The effectiveness of Lonely Water is conducive to cut and paste application in order to create an emotional reaction to its audience. The father of the montage theory, Sergei Eisenstein, has played a crucial role in how we perceive film language. In Lonely Water, montage techniques such as tonal, overtonal, and metric montage are masterly woven into the narrative. Another key characteristic is the use of mise en scène, which literally translates as placing on stage. German expressionist films of the 1920s are characterized by their expressionistic key aspects. For example, sets with jagged edges, dark shadows, and menacing-looking people in threatening environments. Suspense is created using Hitchcockian techniques. Here, the camera zooms into the hooded figure. The technique also serves as a transition. The disguised cut featured prominently in Alfred Hitchcock's Rope. The technique appears in a scene at the beginning of the film where supercilious murderers Brandon and Philip are in conversation next to the wooden chest with the corpse inside. The Charley Says animations are memorable in a way that the animations draw empathy from viewers, particularly younger viewers. Masahiro Mori introduced a concept termed Uncanny Valley. The concept involves negative emotional response in the theory in aesthetics. Beings look and move in a manner that is familiar and natural, but not exactly. A moving likeness can be seen in robots, puppets, and non-moving likeness are visible in stuffed animals and corpses. Although the concept predominantly focuses on physical resemblance in 3D animation and robots, as I see it, Richard Taylor's cutout imagery of human animal representations, added with unintelligible language from Charley, is able to evoke our emotions in similar fashion. I've always tried to maintain a dialogue going between contextual research and experimentation. My ever-changing project proposal's aims and objectives was a little bit different then in the early stages of this project. The aim then being to make a public information film about online dangers. So, inspired by an exhibition, Disobedient Objects, where everyday objects are used in protests and in many cases with DIY aesthetics, for my first experiment I began in similar mode. For the next experiment, I was looking at issues related to violent narratives in video games. Many of the public information films I watched on the telly in the 1970s and 80s were generally informing children of outdoor dangers such as playing near ditches, building sites, railway lines, and talking to strangers, etc. However, in the past 20 years, due to the social platforms we use, the dangers are now indoor activities. Playing video games, or gaming as it's commonly referred, being one example. I'm not sure about this one, but using a random video game, as in the previous experiment, movement is decelerated and the sound distorted. Building from earlier experiments, I looked into other artists that have used public information film narratives in their projects, particularly ones with a horror element. I couldn't find very much at the time. There seemed to be nothing around other than remixes on YouTube. However, I was very inspired by Ashley Nankyvel's 2010 award-winning film Helping Johnny Remember. Her project involved manipulating an original American public information film made in 1956. The film is about a young boy, Johnny, who is rejected by the other children for being uncooperative and selfish. Nankyvel's process involved reanimating and remixing using Adobe After Effects CS4. Completed with the evocative soundtrack by good old Neon, she creates astonishing effects.
You don't think he really wants to be that way, do you?
Maybe he doesn't mean to be selfish, but he is.
Inspired by this film and its relevance to my research paper, as I question whether live action or animated public information films are more effective, in the 1970s, the golden age of public information films, there is a clear division between animated and live action films. Though interestingly, a very popular series, Joe and Petunia, crossed this division using an animation technique I use for my own practice, rotoscoping. This meandering journey has led me to where I'm currently at now. Here, I've used my daughter to model while I've recorded her performativity and experimented with distressing facial features and merging from live action to her animated form. And that's about it, really.